know everything. You're going to know everything, right? When you talk about privacy, you actually the reason why people don't read privacy is because they share so much more than, they share everything. You share everything online, yeah? And then you complain about privacy. It's kind of funny. But anyway, let's go back to experiencing. So experiencing starts actually from the point you start packing your bags. And then along the way, what do? You share, right? You take a picture of your luggage, you get to the airport, and there's one reason why probably Suvarnabhumi is one of the most, photographed airport in the world. It's probably one of the worst as well. So I was there this weekend. It was so hot, right? It was so hot. And the aircon was on, but it didn't really work, right? Then you take a picture, you get into the plane, I'm boarding, taking a picture of your ticket, taking a picture of your meal, and you haven't even arrived to Phuket yet, right? Then you arrive to Phuket and it goes on and on and on. So a lot of pictures that you're actually sharing, but you start using tools that if I go to Australia or if I go to Hong Kong or China, what am I going to use? Maps. I have to use maps. But personally, I was in Japan, and you know that Japan, everything is in Japanese. But they have great maps. Right? And so I was looking for a restaurant, and to find a restaurant in Japan is not easy. With all the signs in Japanese, even the restaurant name is in Japanese. But it takes you you just have to walk, follow the instructions, and you get there. And recommendations. I used to be a big fan of The Lonely Planet. Now I don't. I bought it 1 month in advance, and was reading, highlighting. So I have all my planning done on that book. Now I just go there, I open my smartphone, and I do a smart thing. I search. I search for restaurant. I search for shopping places. I search for what are people recommending to do. And when you go online, you have so many recommendations. Right? So that's what I do. That's my experiencing part. And obviously along the way, I share all that on social network. It's not, and I don't wait until I come back to Thailand to share. I do it now. I take pictures, I share them now. I go on Instagram, I go on Facebook, on Google+, on YouTube, and I share that. It's very instant. Right? It's in the moment. Because if you keep it in your smartphone, there's actually a tendency that you're not going to share that picture. You're just going to keep it there. So you have to share it now. I mean, consumers like to share it now. So these are sort of the 5 stages of consumer journey. That's how we like to break it. So you have to understand, to your business, what is important. What's your business, right? If you're a travel agent, then you should probably be, in the planning and booking stage. That's what's important. And a couple of, I'll jump right to the end. So, from both our standpoints, as Google, but also as Asia, what we shared is this. For us, the learning is when you're online, there's something very powerful about online. Is consumers are telling you what they want. You don't even have to ask them. When I search for Phuket hotel, that's very straightforward. I want a hotel in Phuket. I want to know, interesting things to do in Phuket. All of this, you don't even have to do researches. Consumers are telling you, and that's very powerful. And like I was saying, travelers online, they're very connected. They spend most of the time online, and they're connected here when they're in their own country, but also when they're abroad. When I was in Koh Lipe, all the people on the beach were not Thai. They were Asians, probably Singapore, Hong Kong, a lot of Australians, people from France, and some people from Ireland, but all of them were connected. So that's very important. And I find this actually very interesting. I had this Also, when you get on the plane, you notice now, any plane you get on, they ask you to turn off your mobile phone, but also your tablet. So it shows you that your tablet, 1 year ago, they didn't even mention about it. People almost didn't know what was a tablet. But now it's every flight. They ask you to actually turn this off. So you see the importance of mobile, increasing importance of mobile as well. But one thing that we have to understand, it's not like, okay, I should jump on, do only smartphones, or, it's not an either or. You have to do all of them. Because a consumer is not just on his computer, but he's also on his tablet, he's also on his smartphones. So all these devices, it's the same consumer. That's the key. So if I meet with my friends at dinner, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check that location on my mobile. But then once I go home, I'm going to open up my laptop. So that's the thing we have to understand. And one thing that is really funny, we were talking about, I think you were talking about the time people use their social network, but if you look at the time when people use their smartphones the most, it's actually when they're watching TV. Yeah? So it's around from 6 o'clock when you see in traffic, up until 10 to 11 p.m. So it's when you're watching the news, when you're watching your soap opera, it's prime time TV. And you actually own your mobile device. So think about this. So not only it's the same consumer, but they're also doing a lot of things at the same time. While I'm talking, you're doing other things. You're listening, but you're also probably WhatsApping, Facebooking, and a lot of things. Another example I wanted to give, I'm at 1 minute, okay. The floods in Thailand. It's actually 2 years, right? 2 years, yeah, 2 years ago. Is there anyone from TAT in this room? No? Okay, no, okay. Before I start shooting, I just want to make sure. There is, okay. Okay. So I just wanted to give you an example. So when there was the flood situation, obviously a lot of you know that there were a lot of cancellations of trips to Thailand, right? The cancellations happened like this. They saw pictures of the crocodile in the water. That's it. I'm not coming to Thailand, right? You saw pictures of the plane at Dongmyeon that had the water up to the wings. I'm not coming to Thailand. And those pictures went around so fast. Why? Because on the internet it goes really, really, really fast. But the response that we chose to give at that point was through newspapers. How fast do you think you have newspapers? The cancellation is just it's just like a couple of clicks or seconds, minutes, hours away. It's just I just need to see that what's happening in Thailand. And the right response should have been an online response, because that's the fastest way to respond. So it's not about just sales and stuff like that, but it's also crisis management. And when you want to reach out to consumers, whether it be Four Seasons, like a big brands, or an hotelier with a small hotel or a travel agency, how do you reach out to your consumers in Australia, in France, in UK, in China? Are you going to use newspapers? Are you going to use TV? Yeah, okay, I'm running out of time, but I'll address these questions during the panel, the Q&A. Thank you very much.
Actually, this question of crisis management is quite interesting also, because in Thailand just a couple of months ago, for the first time we had a race for the governor. And for the first time we actually had a candidate who didn't waste money on a single billboard. He waged his entire campaign online, which was quite fascinating actually. Again, College of Innovation, something to learn there. Ladies and gentlemen, I have several questions as always, but then I'm going to give the privilege over to the floor. Only if the floor doesn't want to ask any questions will I set the ball rolling. Over to you guys, ladies and gentlemen. Any questions? Yeah, go ahead. Sure. Do you want to? Not at that point.
Hello, I work for Amadeus. My name is Stephanie. I work for Amadeus.
Thank you.
And I have a question to Ms. Denise. Considering that some of the travel providers are increasingly bypassing meta search, I don't know the future of meta search. What do you see is the most challenging in that? And the second question is, what does one meta search actually differentiate over another? Like we have Ixigo, which is very popular in India, a kayak US centric, and obviously in China, Kunar. So what do they how do they differentiate one from another? Yeah.
I think your question is about what's the challenge of the travel meta search is having today, right? So I think the question actually for kayak for quite many years, and there is also some stories is happening in China market as well. I think basically Qunar's mission is more about help the travelers to make better purchase decisions. So what we do is like we try to aggregate all kinds of travel product informations into one platform and provide value to the consumers. Whether travel product providers how much they paying us actually is not a major issue. We want to we consider it most important stuff. So we always want to balance the provider and the users. When they have the conflict, for example, the benefit between the consumers, Qunar, and the travel providers. So we always consider, the consumers' value is the most important. Secondary is the suppliers' value, and the third is Qunar's, the travel search engine. So, for example, Ctrip actually had really serious battle with Qunar since we born the first day. However, we still list their price into our search result because we want to benefit the consumer's experience. So even today, even they do not pay us, we still include their content into our search result. And in the China market, in Qunar's consumer point of view, during the last 8 years, we didn't see the much conflict between Qunar and the providers, because we do not only try to achieve the revenue target. We want to balance. And our search result always balance the user's value instead of how much revenue we generate from.
Okay.
How does one meta search differentiate over another? Because there are many meta search nowadays.
Recently, actually, I didn't see much conflict between the three major players in the market. For example, Kayak and Qunar, we do not have any conflict because we target different markets. We are facing different consumers and different suppliers. In China, actually, there are Qunar and another very smaller travel search engine, Kuxun, which was acquired by Expedia years ago. We do not see the competition or whatever. It's like we both want to attract our users. We want to increase our services, to increase the transaction security, safe, and provide better experience to the consumers. So I think all the competition is about whether you provide more comprehensive content to the consumers, and whether you can ensure you manage all the suppliers' quality of service to enhance your experience of the users. So we do not see there is significant conflict. We are quite open for all the players in the market because the users need the information.
Okay, next question. Okay, I have one question actually. James, I'd like to, if you don't mind, one of the most irritating things for me is to walk into a hotel and be charged for internet.
Very good point. Me as well. But we still charge you if you come to my hotel. I'm sorry. But anyway, the question.
Yeah, the question really is, are we going to see a time when actually people will just flatten that whole, level the whole playing field? And
Definitely, and actually we've planned to phase it out. The problem has been for the hotel industry is this revenue has become essential. It's become critical. And where other revenues in the hotels end up changing, you know, movies, online, other movies, other things, you know, those revenues have gone. The hotel companies are constantly just squeezing every percent out of the GOP they can. And the internet has been, you know, a little bit of a buffer. But there is also, people don't realize, a lot of costs associated with keeping up the infrastructure, because people want more and more, you know, bandwidth. It used to be they wanted to send emails, now they want to, you know, download a TV show. So there is a lot of cost involved as well. But in the next 3 years, at least in our hotels, we will have phased it out completely. And in most of the hotels now, you see the upper tier hotels, they're starting to give options where normal bandwidth is free, and if you want to download the latest TV show, then you pay extra.
So you do see a time where just like, for example, nobody makes international calls from hotels anymore because the phones can do it.
Yeah, within 5 years, no one's paying for internet.
The internet will probably all get flattened out. I mean, some of the hotels are using it as a competitive advantage now.
Yep. Within 5 years, no one will be charging for normal internet usage. For extended bandwidth, then they might. Otherwise, exactly, they'll just put themselves out. That's one of the biggest complaints. I spend $300 a night, or I stay in Hong Kong, spend $800 US a night to stay in a hotel, and I have to pay another $50 to check my email. It's pretty sad.
Question for you, Dennis. You mentioned the role of women in decision making in the planning process. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about the penetration of internet usage and technology among women in China? Is that a key target market to focus on in terms of people wanting to influence the travel decision making?
Actually, you know, we didn't plan for that at the beginning. We didn't plan for, you know, target the female more than the male. However, as a result, we do see, you know, the female have much higher percentage of freelance.
Were you surprised with that?
A little bit, a little bit, because we realized, you know, afterward, you know, we did some research and the surveys. We realized that, you know, women actually is making the decisions of the family trip, and they make decision about, you know, where to go and how much they want to spend, and maybe with the kids or whatever. And in China, it's very interesting because, you know, there are some applications, some websites only for the women. For example, there are some social SNS. Women sharing, they only accept the women users. They, you know, share experience about buy clothes on Taobao or other, you know, e-commerce website. It's 100% women, only women allowed to register, and they are very successful in China.
Question for you, Kunal. How can technology, particularly large companies like y'all, be of use to driving business to small and medium-sized enterprises in Asia, particularly to help them get their competitive advantage up against some of the mega chains coming in?
Well, we actually, our clients are not just large companies. It's everyone, from actually even from users to large advertisers and to smaller, you know, SMB type of businesses. We have initiatives, we have teams dedicated to working with small companies to bring you, like, you know, that level of competitiveness. So we've done a lot in Thailand. We've done a lot. You know, like, we have get Thailand businesses online. We're increasing the activities that we have. We're training more and more agencies so that, you know, they're knowledgeable and they can help you out, because that's important, especially for countries in Southeast Asia or in Asia, because, you know, AC is coming out in a couple of years, and we especially for Thailand, really have to be competitive. Right now, we're not ready for AC. If you're not doing anything about that, you're not going to be ready in time. So there are a couple of challenges. Language is obviously one of the big challenges for Thai businesses, but online should be seen as a tool that will help you compete, you know, at an Asian or at a world level. Because you don't have to go and open an office. We have a lot of examples of small SMEs. They actually export around the world. We have clients that they send their products to Brazil, and the owner has never been to Brazil. Right?
Yeah, but one of the key issues that is coming out right now is the amount of charges that the SMEs have to pay, the OTAs, the credit cards, and all the others. And eventually they need a little bit more of an advantage to be able to, particularly due to the fact that they don't have the critical mass, they need some little thing to help them